So we are going to embark in some new teachings that we haven't embarked till now. Those teachings are called Pirkei Avos or Pirkei Avot, translated as the ethics of the fathers, ethical teachings, and a little background. We need a little background in what we're going to engage now. For those who are familiar, we know about the 5 books of Moses. We know perhaps about Tanakh, the 24 books of holy writings. But along with the written word, there is, of course, the oral tradition. The oral tradition was first redacted by Yehuda HaNasi, Judah the Prince, in the 2nd century, as the leader of the Jewish people in Israel at the time, saw that the future might not be so rosy. And if we don't write down that which was supposed to be originally oral, we may lose some of the teachings. The truth is, some of the teachings were already lost. Yes, we're going to get there, Davida. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to have it on the screen too, so you can follow afterwards. Thank you. So there was a question of the teachings to be lost for the future generations. Therefore, it was necessary to write them down. So what was written down, what we call the Mishnah. 3 centuries later was written down the Gemara, and the two together make the Talmud. Make the Talmud. Now, in the Mishnah, we have 60 tractates. The 59th tractate is Avos, what we're going to embark on. Now, the 59 tractates of the Mishnah are by and large about law. Time to pray. What time is it? The right time to pray. How are you supposed to pray? Shabbos is coming. How are you supposed to observe Shabbos? So most of the Mishnah is about the cut and dry. Oh, I would say dry. That might be right, and it's not so cut and clear because there's a lot of debate and argument about it. But in the Mishnah, not in the same manner, and there's the discussion about the do's and the don'ts. The tractate of Avos, or Avot, however you want to pronounce it, I'm going to pronounce it Avos if you don't mind, by contrast, is speaking about beyond the letter of the law. It is primarily, it is not about ritual and regulations. It is about character development. And whereas the rest of the Mishnah will speak about, let's say, the laws of torts and damages, about how to honor and respect someone else's property and not to damage someone, what the laws are if you do damage someone else's property, Pirkei Avos demands a different aspect on how to look at property. It says, for example, that it should be as dear someone else's property as your own. That's not legislated by law. That's not the cut and dry do's and don'ts. That is something what we would call actually beyond the letter of the law. So we have 59 tractates of the Mishnah that speak about the letter of the law. Then we have Avos, Pirkei Avot, that is speaking about beyond the letter of the law, meaning how to be a chassid. So, for example, if you would fulfill all 59 tractates of the Mishnah, you would be, or Jewish law, you'll be a tzaddik, you'd be righteous because you're doing everything right. I mean, not righteous in the terms of Tanya, because that's something of the heart, right? But righteous in the sense of doing everything correctly and staying away from things that are inappropriate. That would be amazing. Avos, the tractate, is coming to bring us to another level of what's to be a chassid. What is a chassid? A chassid, the Zohar explains, is someone who does kindness to God. What does that mean, to do kindness to God? What does that mean? How do you do kindness to God? Kindness to God means, the metaphor would be, and we've used this in Tanya before, that we would exert ourselves to do for God more than we'll do for ourselves. Like a child will do for their parents more than they will do for themselves, because their love for their parents is greater than the love for themselves. Now, I know you might say, well, I don't have such a kid. It's okay. You know why? Because we weren't such a kid. But there are such kids. In any case, it's a metaphor. In any case, it is a metaphor. That's the most important thing to understand. In other words, that we desire to, as the child will desire to do for the parent and risk their life to save them and do for them beyond the preciousness and the dearness of their own life. Right? What does that mean over here? In service of God, how do we do it? What does that mean to be a chassid? That we're motivated to do for God. To do what? To reveal him in this world. To bring his presence into this world. Of course, how do we do that? Through a mitzvah, through studying Torah, as we're doing right now, right? So Avos is the manual for the chassid, the one who wants to go beyond the letter of the law. Now, to tie this in with our Tanya from earlier, who remembers what we learned earlier and how we can tie that in? Anybody have a thought on that? Well, we spoke about earlier in Tanya, how do I look at Judaism? Do I look at as duties, obligations? When you become bar and bat mitzvah, 12 and 13 years old, you become obligated. And for a child, that's what it is. It's an obligation. And that's great, because we need to understand that we have obligations, we have duties in life. But then we need to grow beyond that. And how do we grow beyond duties and obligations? When we recognize that Judaism is really a tool to create a relationship, a deep relationship with God. In a relationship, there's duties and obligations, but it's deeper than duties and obligations. It's the desire to connect and not be disconnected. That's a much deeper and profound idea. So the 59 tractates of the Mishnah deal with the do's and the don'ts, deal with the duties and the obligations that we have. And halavai, that everybody would do that. That would be amazing. Comes now the tractate of Avos and updates or gives us a new level of appreciation. And that is, how do we become a chassid, that we can go beyond the letter of the law, that we can do it not as a duty it's about me and what I need to fulfill, but how I can do a kindness to God, how I can do it for him, lishma, to bring his presence into this world. Now, the truth is, we can learn Pirkei Avos, as many commentaries, hundreds of commentaries on Pirkei Avos. You can learn it in a very simplistic manner, and sometimes we'll see that in a simplistic way, but the way we'll see it is, well, I don't see anything, beyond the letter of the law here. It seems to me, very much the letter of the law. And on some level, it is, because there's always a simple meaning, but then there's a deeper meaning, and that is often eked out or kind of found through, appreciating the unique words that are being used, the phraseology, the unique construct that is developed. So not always is it always, what meets the eyes. And of course, all of the commentators of the Mishnah will bring out a different nuance to the teachings. But from all of the teachings, ultimately, where we want to bring this, we're going to try to deal with it on a simplistic level, so we can understand the simple meaning, and then understand Hasidic teachings and the Rebbe's teachings in particular, how it becomes a very deep, profound, and meaningful teachings that is to bring us to a deeper sense of connection and commitment. That it's not merely just a tool to fulfill my obligations and duties, but to go beyond the letter of the law and to connect in that manner. Any questions? Any comments so far on what we've learned? So if you have the Chabad siddur, the blue one, which is the one that is Hebrew English, so you can go to page 271, and you can follow in your own siddur, or what you could do is follow on the screen. Okay. So if you have a siddur, that's really where I'm going to start, because there's a couple of lines there that I'm going to start with. And so it says in the siddur that it is customary to say one chapter of Pirkei Avos on each Shabbos between Passover and Shavuos in the afternoon. And we start with the Mishnah of Kol Yisrael, and we end with Rabbi Hanani ben Akasha. And there are some who have the custom to do it throughout the summer until Rosh Hashanah, which is actually the Chabad custom. We say Pirkei Avos until Rosh Hashanah. So the earliest that we find this custom of saying Pirkei Avos, again, it's a custom, saying one chapter. We find it in the 9th century by Rab Amram Gon. He writes about this custom. That's the first time that we see the custom that we should to say the chapters, to say a chapter once a week. That's interesting. It says Nohagim loymar, we're accustomed to say. Actually, you know what? Here we don't have this here, so I'm just going to take this away now. I just realized. Get back to that in a moment. It says we're accustomed to say. So it's not like an in-depth study. We're making an in-depth study now, but on Shabbos it is something to say. And the Rebbe said that at least one of the Mishnah try to learn it a little more in depth. One, or if more if you can, to learn it more in depth. Perhaps that which is, you're interested, talks to you, or whatever the case may be, learn a little more in depth. But it does say we say it, as opposed to make a real outright learning of it. Okay. And when do we do it? Between Pesach and everybody has the custom. I might say most everybody has the custom. Between Pesach and Shavuos. Pesach and Shavuos, there are 6 Shabboses, and there's 6 chapters of the Mishnah. Right? Why at this particular time? Well, because we're counting the Omer. The Omer is about self-refinement, and learning Pirkei Avos is also about self-refinement. It's also about introspection. And of course, it is a great way to prepare for Matan Torah, for the holiday of Shavuos. We do it in the late afternoon after Mincha. The reason then, I don't know if that's the reason, but it's the reason, but that's when we do it. Late afternoon on Shabbos is called Raiven de Raiven. The will of God is truly reflected then. Sort of like when we're coming closer to the end of Shabbos, it is, in a sense, more special. So we do it then, right? And as I mentioned, some people, and as Chabad, we have the custom to do it all the way until Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Is that clear? Any questions on that before we go to the prelude to it? Okay. No questions? We're good. All right. Anybody have a sitter besides that can follow in a sitter? Anybody have the Chabad blue sitter? So Liba and Davida have it. Okay.
I gave it to my son.
Good lady. All right. Okay. Let us now go back to the screen over here. So each chapter begins with the following phrase. I'm going to read it in English, and then we will take it apart. Okay. So this is what precedes every chapter. All Israel, meaning all Jewish people, that's what it's in reference to, right, have a share in the world to come, as it is stated in Isaiah. And your people are tzaddikim, righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. They are the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, in which I take pride. From Sanhedrin. All right. Does anybody have any questions on this before I present some questions? Questions only, no answers.
I heard that you have, I don't know, not everyone's going to go to have a chelik in the world to come. I don't know. Here it says everyone, and I heard other places that not everyone will.
Okay,
I
so
don't
that's
know what's right, what's true.
That's your question. Good question. Anybody else have a question? Anybody have a question on the wording of this Mishnah, or this? It's not a Mishnah. It's a preference. Anybody have a question on the wording? Well, Leah has a question where it says, all Israel have a share in the world to come. You know, is that true? Are people not? I have another question. What does it mean, the world to come? There's two worlds to come, right? What are the two worlds to come? After 120, going to Gan Eden, and after we fulfill everything in this world, and we bring the advent of Mashiach, that's also a world to come, also in the future tense, right? Which one is it speaking about? And what's the proof? What does it mean all your people are tzaddikim, are righteous? How do we understand that? Really? Hey, I know me. Not so righteous. Yeah, the rest of you, yes, but me. What does that mean? What does it mean they'll inherit the land forever? What does that phraseology mean? And what is the metaphor of a branch of my planting, the work of my hands, which I take pride, that God takes pride? Now, there's metaphors over here that we need to understand. What are they? Is that clear? Questions clear? Yeah? We're good? Thumbs up? Two thumbs? Well, yeah, it's two thumbs. Yeah, I guess with an emoji, you can only get one thumb, huh? All right. All right. By the way, welcome, Karen. You came in earlier, and Katie's coming in now. Welcome. Okay. So, and another question is, why are we reading this before starting the ethical teachings, the moral exhorts, the Hasidic insight into what it means to go beyond the letter of the law? Why are we reading this phrase? So some answers to some questions. Firstly, it says, Kol Israel, all Israel. You know, when we look at Pirkei Avos and the what's the word? The background that I gave and the intent of it is to go beyond the letter of the law. You might say, well, that's not for me. For me, it's just the letter of the law. And to go and rise above the letter of the law, to be a chassid, to do a kindness to God, to do it for God's sake, to bring the presence of God in this world, and that's what my intent is. That's not for me. So comes the Mishnah before and says, no, Kol Israel, no. Every Jew, this is meant for every Jew. Beyond the letter of the law, we're capable of arriving there. It's something that we all can achieve it. Why? Maybe not. Well, again, because Kol Israel, we have the loftiness of our soul that gives us the capability that we could implement that which is beyond what might be, we call the human condition. Is that clear? And just like all of Israel was at Mount Sinai, right? We were all there at Mount Sinai. So in preparation for Mount Sinai, who has to be there? All of us. This is preparation. The 6 weeks between Pesach and Shavuos for the giving of the Torah. We all need to be present. We all need to engage. Okay. So we ask the question. It says the word Le'olam Haba, the world to come. How do I know what it means? First of all, as I mentioned, that there is the world to come, Gan Eden. After 120 years in this world, God willing, that's where we're going to go. Olam Haba is, hopefully we get there before we get to Gan Eden, because we will have Mashiach today, right? So how do we know what this is the reference in this Mishnah? But before we even get to that, to answer that, I have a question. What is the difference between Gan Eden and the world to come times of Mashiach? Who can explain that to me? Who can share with me? And if you can or can't, we have a course coming up all about this. The next JLI course, which everybody is obliged to come for sure. I mean, you can't even say this is beyond the letter of the law. It's something you got to do. Come to the next JLI course, which is all about Mashiach, starting in 3 weeks today, as a matter of fact. So we sent out emails. If you didn't get it, please send me your email so we can send you, and hopefully you'll join us. So who can tell me the difference? Go ahead. I'm all ears.
Rabbi?
Yes.
Is the next world filled with only neshamas that have gone on after 120?
Yeah, so Gan Eden
world
is
to
only
come is for
souls.
everyone?
Right. Gan Eden is only souls. Exactly. And Olam Haba in times of Mashiach is what?
Is the physical and the spiritual?
The
souls and the physical?
soul in a body. Soul in a body. Very good. Very good. It's the soul in a body. So Gan Eden, Garden of Eden, is only souls, right? Olam Haba, the times of Mashiach is a soul in a body. That's one distinction. What else can you tell me, folks? Come on. I know it's the first day back in yeshiva. Welcome back to my yeshiva, right? But I know you haven't been using, you've been scrubbing a lot and eating a lot, and, I know because I did it too. And we haven't been using our, forcing our minds as much. So I'm forcing you right now. What else is the difference? Not all at once. It's it's thundering loud over here. The silence. What else is the difference? Another difference is that Gan Eden, you have to deserve to get it. Mashiach, everybody gets it. Gan Eden, we just had a course about this, the journey of the soul. You might not go to Gan Eden. You might have to have, well, I should say you wouldn't go to Gan Eden, but Gan Eden is based on your achievement here in this world. What you achieved here in Torah mitzvahs is what you're going to delight, a ray of light. You're going to delight of that in the times of Gan Eden when your soul will be there. So if you did a lot of mitzvahs, studied Torah a lot, you're going to delight a lot in the splendor of God in Gan Eden. Mashiach, even if you did minimally in this world, you will have maximally in the times of Mashiach. Now, there'll also be different levels, but you'll have maximally. You will all have. And we'll get back to that a little more about what that means and why. Another distinction. Third distinction. And I'm having a test after this, so you have to gonna have to regurgitate it. Oh, Karen, nice to see you. Welcome. Welcome back. Third distinction. Gan Eden is only a ray of light of the divine. Mashiach is the essence of God's presence will be revealed. In Gan Eden, you don't get the essence of God's light revealed. You only get a little sparkle, a little glimmer of his splendor. Mashiach will be totality. Is that clear? 3 distinctions. Who could repeat that for me, please? On this Wednesday afternoon. Irma, go for it.
Gardenia is only the soul.
What else?
Also, it's just a spark of the light.
Right? A ray,
What is the one?
a glimmer,
A glimmer, yeah.
right? And the third thing?
What was the third one?
We have to deserve it.
Yeah, earn it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You
you
have to deserve it.
You have to earn it.
Yeah. You have to earn it, yeah.
Okay. Leah, Mashiach, by contrast.
Okay, Mashiach, the soul in the body, and everyone will get there, and it's the essence of Hashem revealed.
You guys are great.
I wrote it down.
I knew you would do it. Great. Beautiful. Okay. So now let's go back to our Mishnah. Okay. So we can now fit in some of the pieces that we just spoke about. So how do we know that this is speaking about Mashiach as opposed to Gan Eden? Well, the first thing is all Jews are righteous. Yes, I might not be righteous now and in this lifetime, but eventually my soul will be righteous. And therefore, all being righteous on 2 levels, actually, that the soul inherently is righteous, and it is therefore on that merit alone will have God's presence in the times of Mashiach, and not based on deserve it or not. The truth is every Jew does mitzvahs. As the Talmud says, that every Jewish soul is full of mitzvahs like a pomegranate is full of seeds. Right? But it's not based on deservedness. It's based on, the fact that you have a Jewish soul that is righteous. And you do things that are righteous. And you did play an act, in some way, a role in bringing the final redemption. So the fact that it says that we're all righteous is in reference to the way we will ultimately be. Indeed, in fact, times of Mashiach. Furthermore, the fact that it says that we will inherit the land means inherit the land, meaning it's eternal. And also, what is an inheritance? What does it mean? What is an inheritance? Anybody?
Something left to you, even if you don't deserve it.
Exactly. Thank you, Leah. Even if you don't deserve it, if you are the inheritee of the inheritor, right? You don't deserve it, but you still inherit. So we are going to inherit the land, eternal life. That's what it means in that sense, forever. So an inheritance doesn't require my action. Not that we don't do action, which we'll get into. Not that we didn't do things. As we mentioned, even a sinner is full of mitzvahs, like a pomegranate is full of seeds, right? That's true. But it's not based on that. It's based on it's an inheritance to us. And therefore we get eternal life in the times of Mashiach, right? Furthermore, the metaphor. What is the metaphor? That we are a branch of my planting. In other words, we have a piece of God in us. That's what makes us ultimately, the righteous that we will be, because we are a branch of his planting. So we're righteous in what God planted in us. And eventually, what's the metaphor of when you plant something? It may take some time, but it will bear fruit. You will grow something. So it will grow and grow into that righteousness, into that goodness. So that's one level. Second level tied in with that is when you plant something, right? Can you just leave it? No. You have to nurture it. You have to water it. You have to, when it starts to grow, to trim the hedges. You have to do whatever you have to do, right? To make it grow properly. In other words, even though that I am a part of God and he's planted the seed in me, but I have to help it make it grow. So even though it's not based on my growth that will bring me to inherit the land eternally and have a part of the times of Mashiach, but yet I should do my part. I need my own effort to actualize my potential as best as possible. Is that clear? Let's go back to the Mishnah over here. So let's look at inside. Let's look at the words now. Let's take it apart now. All Israel, all the Jewish people, right? Why all the Jewish people? They have a share in the world to come? Because they're righteous. Your people are righteous. Meaning our soul, in other words, it's not based on our actions. It's not based on our deservedness. Because we're all righteous inherently in our soul. Regardless, even if we did not fulfill everything the way we should. Right? But we still have a share. Furthermore, why are we righteous? Because we're a branch of God's planting, right? Two parts to the metaphor, though. One is I have a piece of him in me, and that's what makes me righteous inside of me. And I will ultimately reveal that, right? How? Because I've got to do my gardening part. I have to tend to make sure that that which is planted is going to grow properly. And that's what God takes pride in. how I grow properly. And with the very fact that I shouldn't say that. No, I take that back. Not just in how I make things real properly, but in the very fact that I am the two parts, the branch of his planting. In other words, I have a part of him in me, and that itself he takes pride in, and in whatever I have accomplished in making sure that the plant grows properly, that I grow properly. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? Tim, go ahead. I'm listening. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
I just had a question. Did you post this on Facebook as well?
Yeah. This is on Facebook. Yes, it's on Facebook. Right?
Okay. Yeah, great material. I want to go back and catch what I missed at the beginning.
Sure, absolutely. It's there. And I'll have my, the whole 1.5 hours is there. And my part I have on my YouTube station from the Pirkei Avos. We're going to have a new. Karen, question. Clear. Richard. Wonderful. Irma, we're good. Any questions? Okay. So I'm just going to start now the next part of the Mishnah, or actually the first. This is again the preface Mishnah to all of to each of the 6 chapters that we read every week. And I'm just going to go now for a moment and just go over the first Mishnah. So it says, Moshe kibel Torah Sinai. Moses, Moshe, he received the Torah from Sinai. Yeshua, when he gave it over to Joshua. Yeshua, Zekanim, and Joshua gave it over to the elders. Zekanim, Lenavim, and the elders gave it to the prophets. Nevi'im, and the prophets, they gave it over to the men of the great assembly. And they said 3 things. The men of the great assembly, they said 3 things. What was it? You should be cautious in judgment. Establish many pupils. And make a fence for the Torah. So, the way I want to do this every time is that we look at the Mishnah, and you could go forward, by the way, into the next Mishnah too, and read it. What questions you have, what difficulties do you see, right? Questions could be just, obviously what the meaning is, that's one thing, but, let's say you understood. The question will be, well, how is this beyond the letter of the law? What is this teaching me? What does this phraseology mean? Right? What is this? Why the choice of this word? So on and so forth. When we can do that, then we'll have much more of a conversation and interaction in the teachings. Leah, you had a question?
I have a few.
Okay, so please.
But the first one is, if Moses got all the answers from God, why do they have to say that he brought down to them and to them and to them and to them? Why can't they could say that Moses said, do these 3 things or whatever? Why do you have to mention all these generations of generations?
Generations are passing down the Torah from one leader or one
Right.
generation to the next generation. Excellent question.
Right.
Any other questions?
I have more.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Another one. Where is it? A cautious in judgment. Okay, I guess, but establish many pupils. I mean, I'm a simple person. I have 8 students right now, and my kids, 2 students, my husband, 1 student. So I have like a dozen. Many students. I mean, really, I'm a simple person who doesn't have hundreds of students. I mean, you should have hundreds of students. You have 12 here, and you probably have another 100. But I'm saying many students. What does that mean? And is that for everybody?
Excellent question.
Okay.
Anything else?
Okay, and the safety fence around the Torah, is that like the muktzah and the other things that make sure that we don't sin?
Yes, that's an idea. Absolutely.
Okay, that was my
Absolutely.
question. I'm sure I'll have more if I think about it, but right now that's what
There you
came
go.
to mind.
Excellent. So, so very good question. And furthermore, what has this got to do with going beyond the letter of the law? Knowing the transmission, what is that teaching us as, beyond the letter of the law? And furthermore, being cautious in judgment, like you should, like that's not the letter of the law, seemingly would be the letter of the law. You have to be cautious in judgment, right? Establish many pupils. How does that fit in with beyond the letter of the law, right? How do we understand that? And make a fence around the Torah. Well, maybe we could understand that somewhat because, there's the basic law. Making a fence is like, going extra cautionary, right? To make sure that we don't go and do anything that would be wrong. So that's like extra caution that we're taking. Okay, that maybe we could understand. Any other questions or comments from anybody? Katie, we have Davida, Liba, Michael, Robert, Richard, Karen, Irma, Tim, Leslie.
I guess I have a question.
Go ahead, Katie.
Well, my question is, first, we're studying, this is ethics of fathers, right?
Exactly.
And then I guess my other question is, if I wanted to review what we were going to study tomorrow, what is it? So is it day 2? Is it like by each
No,
day?
we're in chapter 1. We're in chapter 1. So what you can do is go to Chabad.org and write in ethics of our fathers, and you'll have the mission there.
Okay, and we're in chapter 1. I know we
And
just started.
that's what I have. You know what? Let me take a copy. Let me give you this link. Hold on. Look at that. I didn't even think of this.
Well, I know where Chabad is. I know the website.
Well, you don't need to know anything now. You just have to click there. Okay, I just sent you the link.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, that was. So by the way, you can copy that if you want. Just take it from there. Copy the link, and put into your URL, and you got it. All right, folks. That's it for today. Tomorrow we're going to go into this. We're going to understand this, in a simple meaning, and we're going to understand it in a deeper understanding, and most importantly, we're going to grow as a result of it. All right. Well, let me just see online if there's anybody that made a comment or a question.
Rabbi Stein, I just had a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
When you were saying you were talking about the bearing fruits and our inheritance, is that why we say in the Shema that to make sure that we do all the commandments and then we will inherit the land?
Yeah, that's also a reference. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I'm inviting everybody that is on Facebook to come, and let me give the link here so you can come and join us on Zoom tomorrow, because you know what? It's wonderful to have everybody to join if you can, if you're capable of doing that. And the link, hold on. I'm going to give the link on whatchamacallit, on Facebook. I'm going to put it up there. Give me a, oh, that was okay. Hold on, let's get that link. There we go. There's the link. You have that on Facebook. We invite everybody on Facebook to come on Zoom so we could, it'd be greater connection, better connection. I mean, at least for me, especially when I see your faces. All right, folks, welcome back to my yeshiva. Pass the word on so we can have more people to participate and join us. But this is going to be our journey. A few days a week, we're going to learn Pirkei Avos. I'm still on Fridays. We're going to do something from the Parsha. Mondays, I might do something Talmudic, but I'll keep you surprised. All right. Thank you, folks. Have a wonderful day. God bless
Thank
you.
you. Bye.
Thank you, and welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome all
Thank
back.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Stein.
Thank you. See you next
Bye.
time.
Yep. God bless. Be well.